SGC here, and we're back for a movie review. The Final Master. Directed by Haofeng, directed Judge Archer back in 2012 and The Sword Identity in 2011. The US trailer just dropped recently, and that's how I actually heard about this film. And in the trailer itself, it says, the writer of the Grandmaster. And yeah, so Haofeng is one of 3 writers who wrote the screenplay for the Grandmaster, directed by Wang Jue. This is called The Final Master, but when it was first released, it's called The Master back in 2015. And I think both name works here. I mean, in Chinese, it is teacher, master. There's no final. But then I think the final sort of adds to sort of the story side of things. But, you know, they changed names for Western releases. It had screenings back in 2016, and it was due to like audience demand and internet petitions that there will be a US DVD Blu-ray release, which was originally slated for late 2016, but I think it's coming out in July 2017. And maybe it'll show at your local cinema, but it isn't yet. So I just picked it up and found it anyways because it's a 2-year film. So, who is in this movie? I don't know anyone except for the main guy. Liao Fan is the main guy, and I saw him in Black Hole Thin Ice. He was great in that. It was a great detective story. I'm gonna butcher names, so I'm not even gonna bother pronouncing them, so check down below. So what's this movie about? Well, the movie follows the last Wing Chun master's quest to pass down his art in pre-World War II in China. And Wing Chun, if you've forgotten, is the stuff that Donnie Yen pulls off in Ip Man 1, 2, and 3. So Wing Chun is that. And totally different from the Ip Man stuff. So if you have sort of going in that, thinking of that stuff, you're most likely going to get disappointed. More so, think of Grandmaster and then going in, and I think you'll like it a lot more. So basically, yeah, it's about his quest, and he goes to this town of Tianjin, a city known for its martial arts culture, and then he has to follow all the rules to set up his own school so that he can pass on his art. But there's all these like secret rules and public rules that he has to abide to sort of set up his school. So this movie just talks about how he's going to do that and what gets in his way, and that's basically the entire film. So what did I think? Well, first off, if you watch the US trailer, you're gonna expect crazy action, because the trailer's actually edited pretty well, and the pacing's done well, and the cuts are nice. And you would think like, oh my goodness, it's like super jam-packed with tons of action. And if you go in thinking that, you're gonna be disappointed, because it's not that. Like literally that epic fight sequence, spoiler, but not really, it's more like that you enjoy the movie for what it is versus what you expect, is that the last sequence of the movie is that epic fight where he fights so many people in a hallway. And oh my goodness, there's another hallway fight. It's like, man, Marvel picked it up after Old Boy type of thing, and now everyone's just fighting in hallways type of thing. So yeah, had that real expectations. I mean, it sucks that the trailer sort of sets you up for that failure, because I was like thinking the entire movie, I'm like, where's that epic fight? They talk about fighting a lot, but where's the epic fight? And there's a lot of fighting one-on-ones sometimes here and there, but it's not that fight. Or even just show me more fights. There's a lot of talking in this movie. There's a lot of more talk than show. But it's different, because the focus isn't really on crazy choreo or crazy martial arts, like pulling off the stunts and everything, despite the fact that it actually won Best Choreo back in the 33rd Golden Horse Awards. I mean, it is pretty cool, because I gotta tell you why. Because it's more about the art versus the hard-hitting like action or just the crazy martial arts about it. How I would view it is sort of like, imagine John Wick pulling off all his moves, super deadly, super efficient, but he doesn't kill anybody. That's sort of what happens in The Final Master. But beyond that, the story is actually pretty cool, because it talks about following rules and breaking rules and relationships and just who's really helping you and who's really wanting to help each other. And you got to really see who's going to stab you in the back type of thing. And that sort of game is just like, whoa. And I think that would have been a better sort of expectation as you take in the movie versus you watch the trailer and you think, oh my goodness, this is going to be a super full action-packed movie. It's not. He trains a student, and the rule is that he needs to fight like 8 schools, defeat them, and then he can set up his school. he defeats 7 guys, and I think there's one woman too, at least one woman, because that's what they show, is that you should probably see 2 of his fights, and that's basically it. And you would go like, why did they do that? Why did they do this missed opportunity? And I definitely say it is a missed opportunity. Song Yang, that plays his student, pulls it off. He has the charisma, and just he's convincing as like a pupil who's just like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna be #1. Just watch me. I'm dedicated to my art. And years pass, and he's just dedicated, but you don't see what he's learned or what his full capacity is. And I feel like that's a shortfall. But though definitely it sets up that epic fight where that choreo is great, where the art form is respected. Literally masters versus masters, and it's just, I'm not here to kill you, I'm just here to best you. And I think that really, now that I think about it, I just came up with that. That is basically the entire movie, is that masters besting masters versus beating each other down to a pulp. And I think this is solely how they're going to sell this movie. It's where it's going to be action-packed, but it isn't. And I mean, if you watch Grandmaster, it's not very action-focused. It's more about the art form, about all these literal grandmasters of their martial arts and their life type of thing. And one guy challenges them. And apparently the Chinese version is a lot longer, and I should get my hands on that one. But back here, actors, the acting here, I enjoyed it for what it is. Though definitely it is confusing because one disciple sort of looks like the other disciple, and I'm like, is this the Song Yang guy or this other dude that I don't know where he came from? So definitely that didn't help. And the time jumping was just shrugged away, and it's like 1 year passed. I'm like, oh, what happened? Or how the narrative even starts off with their 8th fight. That was kind of intense, and you're sort of like, oh my goodness, the movie starts like this, it's gonna be great. And it jumps backwards and flashbacks, and you sort of understand where the school rules and just where all the town rules. I mean, it comes to the appreciation of all these rules set up, as in women are respected in this town. Even if a foreigner marries her and divorces her, she didn't fail. It was him. He couldn't take care of a Tianjin woman. And that was like, wow. I mean, even though she was seen as someone that was cast aside and everything. So definitely the rules are the game here. Besting is here versus pulping each other's faces. And hindsight, I feel like the movie is a lot better than when I was watching it, because I had the expectation of just fight scene after fight scene. But where it's more of like a political game where the twist happens and you're like, oh my goodness. So they're now sort of trying to go for the same school, and who's going to stab each other in the back, and who's going to come out alive, and what's going to happen. Like, is his relationship with his wife going to pan out, even though she hates him, but she seems like she sort of loves him and type of thing. So there's a lot of things happening here. And I definitely think that you have to put your expectation at the door and go in sort of expecting sort of an actual story about martial arts versus a action flick. And granted, really, the trailer doesn't lie. It says the writer from the Grandmaster. So you can't expect action, 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 and pow, wow, wow. So yeah, I mean, overall, it was an interesting take on the whole martial art thing, and I think I enjoyed this type of thing versus just Ip Man. Because seriously, Ip Man, great as it is that one sequence where he fights 10 guys, and that's literally, you don't care about the rest of the story. And that's kind of sad, because this guy has such a rich sort of history of what he went through the war and going to Hong Kong and the stuff that he went through. Whereas this is more of a niche story, whereas it's like, I need to perfect my art. And it's more about myself than like training thousands of people in Wing Chun, even though I'm the last master type of thing. And I don't really know if it's actual historical. I doubt it, because I think it's just made up, and I think it's an interesting sort of take on the whole Wing Chun craze after the whole Ip Man thing. And yeah, it was fun in terms of that fight scene, and hindsight appreciating what they were trying to pull off here. And definitely I will look forward to what the next project the director is going to work on, because if he can sort of change it up type of thing and maybe bring something new to the table. Because definitely I feel like this is something new to the martial arts genre, where it's just more about respect, master, respect the art versus just showcasing. I mean, respecting the art isn't a new thing, but amongst all these fight martial art films nowadays, it seems like this is more of like, you know, look at the art, respect the art, we're just besting versus killing each other and harming each other, inflicting maximum pain. Anyway, I enjoyed it for what it was. Check it out if you haven't. It is out online and DVDs if you can understand Chinese. English version is probably coming out in July from what I read. Definitely, I would rewatch the whole thing to appreciate the whole thing more versus I wouldn't just go back to watch the fight sequence. Like, the fight sequence is impressive, but it's not as hard-hitting as, say, the Ip Man fight scenes. I mean, the Ip Man fight scenes are great, filmed great, like, choreoed really well, but, you know, beyond that, the story is, like, super flat, and it's just not engaging. But this here, the story is deeper, and, you know, it takes some more time to appreciate it. Anyway, that's it. If you have seen The Final Master, leave your comments down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible, and that is it for this movie review of The Final Master. Out!